awards for art are stupid. The concept is stupid. If people enjoy it, that's the award. That's the award. You got it. You enjoyed it. You did something that they enjoyed it. Congratulations. Yes. And everything else is just like it's about the show. And you may as well be watching what's one where all the pretty people live in a park kind of stuff. Right. Yeah. My buddy Rick Overton, Rick. Very well. I go way back with Rick years ago, and he said, he goes, when did a dude hot tub with 6 models become fucking reality? But anyway, it's Big Brother, right? Yeah. They're all shows now, and if you, they also look in the eye of like if you didn't like, let's say you hated Latin, and you tell me, you know what, I don't get it, I can accept that. I go, okay, we're having a great time on it. A lot of people think it, but I respect that. It's the ones who say, hey, I love your, they'll say, it's the best show on TV. Then you read their article, and they're wherever it is, in Sweden or like this, and they just rip you a new asshole. Yeah. And it's like, that's what I don't respect. It's like, if you don't like it, tell me you don't like it right now. Just say a bunch of shit about it. Exactly. And then take this out of it. That's what's wrong. And I'll tell you, here's one. The Screen Actors Guild. I've been in the Screen Actors Guild since I've been in a long time. I've done SAG audiences. And these are your peers. Now, maybe if there's an organization that gives out an award, maybe it's political, maybe I don't get it because they don't like me or whatever it is. All the actors at a SAG thing, or any other actor-based or based where it's actually your peers voting for you. Party after the Q&A, they couldn't be furnished. Then, guess how many SAG awards made up? I think one, and it was like a phenomenal deal. I think I've been nominated twice, maybe 3 times in a 40-something-year career in this. They have given me the least notice. My own cats who want a movie with me. Hey, see if you can get me in Landman for Adrian Brody. Whoever it is. Whoever I voted for, what?
Yo, I get random motherfuckers who just come in.
What their questions are, what they want to know about. That's what I do it now. It has nothing to do. I told an audience in Boston last year. I said, do me a favor, please don't vote for me. I said, I'm not here to win an award. So if you don't want to vote for me, don't let me change your mind today. Because this is I'm just talking to you guys right now, and I mean that. I'm not just. Well, that's a healthy perspective. That's a good way to look. The award thing is, I think one of my favorite award show moments was Marlon Brando when he was Academy Award. So he brought up this Native American woman, talked about the plight of Native Americans in America, and then it turned out that wasn't really a Native American woman, and she was a crazy bitch. Her sister outed her. She wasn't at all Native American. She was fucking nuts. Oh my god. She came up with a fake name. Just went up there and just was a nut. And just got all this attention. And she tricked Mardo and she tricked all those people. And everybody's like, she's amazing. And to me, that's Hollywood. That moment is what it's really about. That and when they gave Will Smith a standing ovation after he smacked Chris Rock. Like, hey, this is you guys. This is You're fucking insane. You guys are no idea which way is north.
Someone says it's that way, like that way. Everybody runs in the direction.
People have been given awards actually win because they fucked something up, you know, and they can't go back and say, well, actually, you know, and you know, it was on the show. It's got a stick, you know, and that kind of thing. But it's like you reminded me of something that I thought was hilarious. Remember when there was a cat who was, I think it's happened more than once now, but the original guy I saw, I don't remember exactly. It might have been somewhere in Africa, but some politician or speech, and there was a cat acting like the
sign language.
Yeah. He was doing stuff that like he was dancing like James Brown. It was like it had nothing to do with sign language. But he would literally flip around and do things like that. And it's like, I don't know sign language. I know that wasn't fucking sign language. You know?
Well, sign language is also different everywhere you go. You know, there's American Sign Language, there's English Sign Language. It's a completely different language, which is really weird. Yeah, strange. Yeah, my buddy Shikasher, his parents were deaf, so he can sign, and he explained to me the whole thing, how unique it is. And, you know, he can have full conversations with sign language, both alphabetically and with words. And he can do American Sign Language, so if he went and tried to talk to someone in, you know, some other country, even if they speak English, like they have a totally different kind of sign language.
So it's just like actual language. Yeah, go to China. We're not going to go to say.
Exactly.
So sign language is important. I think that's what happened over the last couple of decades is they actually do when there's important information, they always have a signer there. You know?
I think there's a lawsuit right now to make the Trump administration bring sign language people back to those White House press briefings.
Really?
And I read something to see if we find out something about that today. I'm like, why would they take that out? Why would you remove the sign language thing? Yeah. I had them on comedy shows.
I hope it's done. I'm gonna get some shut eye. You're always
for a sign language person. And so there's someone that has to keep up with the jokes, explain like sarcasm while you're in the middle. Like it's very weird.
That's a very weird job.
Well, I always fuck with the person too. I was like, this is so crazy. You have to try to decipher that. Here, judge orders White House to use American Sign Language interpreters in briefings. Yeah. So were there not ones ever before? They stopped administration? January. Oh, that's crazy. That's not smart.
I don't remember it growing up.
I don't remember it at all. I don't remember it at all. I knew it was a thing, but I never saw it like in speeches or anything like that. But yeah.
So can I ask you a comedy history?
Sure.
Because it's always, I mean, people have said to me before, like especially if I get on a roll in a few beers, they say you ought to do it. Just, you know, just for one night, just do something in LA or New York or somewhere, or Texas, wherever. And I'm like, it's in the world to me. Like I did figure it out, you know, all of us, you know, having a beer,
Right.
You know, I can make it kind of funny sometimes, but to get on a stage, I'm afraid of it. Because if you're doing a play, you're doing you know, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof or wherever the hell it is, you don't really know the reaction from the audience. So, I mean, it's like they either love the shit out of this or they don't get it or whatever, but you don't know in the moment. If you're a stand-up comic, you have one reason, and that's to make them laugh. So if you don't make them laugh, pretty soon, you're fucked. And I mean, I can't imagine bombing as a comic. And I think about different, you know, people over the years that are very different type of comedy, you know. And like Stephen, for instance, perfect example, Stephen Wright, who walks out there, doesn't say shit to the audience for a minute, and he goes, last night, I keyed into my door in the house and started my house up and drove it around the block. Cop pulled me over, do you live? I said, right here. says, I bought some powdered water. I don't know what to mix it with. I mean, that kind of stuff. So this is very sort of like, nobody ever did that before. Right. He did that. And I'm like in the beginning for that guy where people just going, what the fuck are you talking about?
You know what's interesting with him? He existed in, there's a great documentary on comedy in Boston called When Stand Up Stood Out. This guy, Franz Alameda, who was a comic in Boston, created it. And it's all about, Boston was a very unique environment in stand-up where all these comedians were just doing stand-up for Boston audiences. They didn't travel there, and they were some of the best guys that have ever done stand-up. But a lot of it was regional, and a lot of it didn't translate when they were in Boston. But they were so good, and there was just a giant group of them, and some of them Clark broke through, and Jay Leno, of course, and Louis C.K. came out of there, Bill Burr, a lot of guys broke through, right? But there was a core group of guys that were a part of this. There was a group that would perform at this Chinese restaurant that was also a comedy club called the Ding Ho. And I started in 88, and it was already closed. It had closed by, I think, 84, 85 or something like that. The guy was a gambler, lost all the money, lost his fucking Chinese restaurant, the place went under. But the scene still stayed. And everybody was just about the art. There was no way to be famous. It was impossible. You were locally known, so you could perform at a club. People go, oh, Steve Sweeney's going to be there. I want to go see him. But when Stephen Wright got on the Tonight Show, it fucked it up for everybody. Because everybody's like, why him? Why not me? And they got mad because Stephen Wright had this absurdist act that translate perfectly to like a 7-minute late, Johnny Carson set. And he was the guy that broke out. We're all these fucking killers, man. And this guy who's just like weird and absurd with his fucking crazy hair and all that, looked a little strange. I used to work at a fire hydrant factory. You couldn't park anywhere near the place. It was those kind of fun. And he created like a lot of resentment where these guys were upset that this guy didn't do as good as them was on the Tonight Show. What about me? And it changed the thing that they. Wow. Yeah. It's like when Steve Martin first came out. I worked as a roadie, for a lot of bands when I was a kid. And George Carlin, Richard Pryor, those guys, they created a thing we hadn't seen before. For a minute ago, I have a Richard Pryor doing his stories. He would just start talking about these people he knew and stories. And Carlin, coming with that witty stuff, here's some partial baseball scores, 1, 3, 7, something like that. And so I was privileged as a kid to watch new brands of humor come out on TV that we could see. And I was roadieing a couple of shows for the New Band, who I still kind of keep in touch with. And their opening act was Steve Martin, because he plays banjo. So he played banjo before the Nerve Band came out. This is when I was a teenager. And he did the arrow through the head, the whole thing. When he had kind of long hair and wore buckskin clothes, played a banjo. And there's a front of house guy named Danny Smith, who I worked for, with the sound company. I was back there in the front of house, the console with him, and I see this guy come out, and I lost my mind. I was screaming, laughing, with some of the shit he did, because he just came out and just said, I'm going to do the stupidest you've ever seen in your life, and people are going to laugh. Yeah. And what he would just do, the whole thing, excuse me, or whatever. And so here's a guy coming out being over the top and putting arrows through his head, shit. And people couldn't get enough of it. And before he did that, nobody else had done that. Right. And all of a sudden, here you got a guy that, is doing it, and that became more the norm for a while. It's like it spawned a lot of other people. It's like when we did Bad Santa,
there ain't anything like that.
Right.
And the next thing you know, after bad Santa, there's bad moms, bad teachers, bad grandpas, bad next door neighbors, bad guy who works at the dry cleaners, And so, and those will last for several years, where people are kind of getting that in their heads, and it's naturally they're influenced by it, and brand lasts for a while.
Yellowstone. There's probably a lot of Yellowstone type ideas that get pitched after that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, Steve Martin got so big, he decided to quit. So he was doing stand-up, and he was like, I lost all touch with the audience because anything I said was funny. Like, what's real and what's not real, it was too big, so he decided to not do it anymore, which is insane. Because you really think about it, like, that's the thing that he loved, and he was, at the time, the only acts that was doing arenas, probably one of the first comedians of all time, to do these huge places. And people would come to see him as this variety act. It was part, King Tut, the King Tut song, and Let's Get Small. Like, it was just so unique. And he just decided to step away from it and just do movies.
And it's so wild because, when you mention that thing about the big arenas and stuff, another thing that's scary to me about comedy is like if you're not in a room where everybody gets every nuance, that would scare me. I mean, to be, of course he was that big and it was a big thing where you could see the big movements and stuff, but Louis Black, right? Sure. Louis Black was, this is probably, at least a decade ago, probably more, and we played it in Milwaukee County Stadium. And it was a biker rally deal where we came on before Kid Rock. So we play our set, and there are 250,000 people. And it was like, half of Woodstock. And so we went out there, had a great show. We came off and everything. Lewis was there. So the main giant stage where the concerts are going on, that was one of those blow-up tents, the ones where the sound's there. And it looks like, the Dallas Cowboys training facility tent or whatever it is. So Lewis comes by the bus to say, hey, we talked for a few minutes. And I knew him from the Sunset Marquee. He would come in the bar there sometimes in LA. And so we're talking, and I said, yeah, man, it's a huge crowd out there. He goes, you guys are awesome. He goes, you don't have anything to worry about. I hear they loved you. Blow up tent with people in folding chairs. He goes, that's not fun, And especially with a guy like him who's all that kind of stuff. People with their little folding chairs and with probably some shitty mic,
Yeah. Those shows are always hell. It's like festival shows, right? Or shows where they have like a bunch of different things going on simultaneously. There's a band over there, and there's a comedy tent over here. I've done a few of those.
it's horrible.
They're always hell. Yeah. You always do it.
Different stages. So you got like 5 bands, and you can hear every one of them, and you're trying to, be funny.
Yeah, that's not a good environment. I mean, I've done a lot of different kinds of comedy, like arenas, theaters, comedy clubs is really where it's supposed to. And everybody agrees with that, because I think what comedy is you're performing, you're doing, but you're also hypnotizing people. What you're doing is you're getting them to think the way you think. You're putting people into your mindset. When I watch a comic that's really good, when they're on stage, I let them think for me. I'm like, guys, think for me. Take me on a trip to the way you think of things, and you lock in with these. And it's much easier to do that. It feels like, as an audience member, it's much easier to get locked in if there's only 100 other people in the room, or 200 other people in the room. But as soon as you get to 8,000, it starts getting weird. It's a different thing. Now it's a show. It's a big show. For sure. You're not like, the only exception is the round. The round is weird. It's like this little circle, and everyone's around you, oddly intimate. Even if it's in Madison Square Garden, so there's like 16,000 people in there, but they're all looking at each other, Everyone sees everybody's face a little bit now. Now it's not a separation between the crowd and the performer who's on the stage. Now we're all in this together. It's like a big hug. It's very weird.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
We've played shows, man, like that in certain theaters where, of course, for a loud ass man like we are, sometimes we're a little big for the room, but that's an interesting point, especially the thing about people being able to see each other, because then you don't want to be the dick that everybody always say, "Yeah, shut the fuck up."
Right.
Yeah. They're right there, the Coliseum. There's some cats in the back shooting and hollering and shit, not paying any attention. It's a different thing.
Yeah. We'll pause. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
I can throw this in a cup.
Doesn't matter. Unless you want to.
Oh, I don't care.
No, it doesn't matter. Yeah, Bud Light's cool. It's the UFC, so yeah. And we're back. Where were we? What were we talking about?
Well, we were on comedy, and then I just talked about Lewis Black.
Yeah, we're talking about fear. Fear of performing. And hypnosis, yeah. So it's a weird art form. But yeah, the bombing is horrible, but it's also the killing is the greatest feeling of all time. So it's like the only way you get one is with the possibility of the other.
Right.
You know, the only reason why you're willing to go through the bombing is you know how great it feels when you're not bombing.
Right.
You know, and the killing is so great because you know that it doesn't have to work out. It can be terrible. But it's a weird art form, and it's a very new one. That's the really, I don't think there is, it probably would have been invented eventually. But he's the guy. Like, that's sure we have a person, and we have film of him. It's not like the first guy to pick up a guitar. Like, who's that guy? Yeah, try finding him. Like, who invented the fucking drums? Like, good luck.
Because they didn't really, like you said, that before him, it wasn't. I mean, he made comedy performers, stand-up comedians like Rothschild. It was before that, man, all the controversy and all that kind of thing. Because before that, it was like variety shows. You had Bob Hope and those guys. There's some TV show that's usually them and someone else.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah. Did you run your day?
Yes, I didn't know him well, but I did meet him. Funny enough, I worked I worked as a security guard at Great Woods Center for the Performing Arts. It's like this amphitheater in Massachusetts, and Rodney was performing there, and it was into Rodney's life where he only wore a bathrobe on, buck naked, with slippers in a bathrobe. And I saw Rodney when I was working there. I was like by the backstage area, and I saw Rodney in the hallway pacing with his fucking bathrobe. I'm like, this is the greatest thing about it. This guy's just gonna go out there in a bathrobe. This was 1986. Yeah, and so he went out there with his fucking bathrobe and just murdered. I mean, murder. The poor people were falling out of their dying and laughing, and I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. This guy's in a fucking bathrobe. You want to talk about not giving a fuck? Right. They really didn't anymore. And there's, I wish I had him where I could have asked him why the bathrobe. Like, what was it about that? But I've got the ultimate caring, the ultimate relaxing. And when are you ever more relaxed than when you get out of the shower? You just put on a fucking bathrobe, and your dick swinging out there in the wind. You just walked out in front of the whole crowd like that. 15,000 people watching Rodney and murder him.
Nolte used to do that. And really, Nolte would do press junkets and interviews with just pajamas on a robe.
Wow.
Did it for years. Yeah. Nolte just was like, one of the greatest things for somebody would come up to it. Maybe it was a fan or whatever, you know. And he was just messing, wasn't serious, but somebody would come and say, Mr. Nolte, I don't want to bother you. And he'd go, too late.
I met Nick Nolte in the 90s because I was on a show called News Radio, and one of the stars of the show was Vicki Lewis. And Vicki Lewis was dating at the time, so he was always hanging around. And I got to know him. He was a really fucking nice guy. And one time, I'm in Fry's Electronics, going to Heathrow, make my own computer. I would like build my own computers and play video games on them. So like a great motherboard, and all that jazz. And I stood with glasses on. It was like going over this box, and I go, hey man, what's up? And he goes, oh hey Joe. And I was like, to me, it's the coolest thing in the world that Nick Nolte knew who I was. Outside of the set, inside the set, it was normal. He's there with Vicky, like he said to hi to everybody. Sorry, but like meet him in an electronics store. I was like, this is the craziest thing of all time. I'm like 27 at the time. I'm like, this is just no Nick Nolte. This is fucking insane.
I do, Vicky too. Skinny little red hair.
Yeah. Crazy voice. Oh God, can she sing?
Yeah.
Oh my God, voice. Like a talent. Like wow. That to me is one of the most impressive things. When someone can just sing their fucking ass off. Because I can't sing at all. So when I hear someone sing like that, the beauty of a good song is like the things that we love. It's an art form that creates a respect for people that's just like a drug. Like if there's a drug that you can take that made you feel when Midnight Rider comes on the radio, it's just the right time to hear it. Like maybe you just had a oh yeah, man, that was fucking great. And then all of a sudden, yeah. You know what I mean? It's just, oh yeah. And everybody's like, what? It's like, it's a drug.
And some songs are made for it. And then other songs are made for at home.
Yeah.
Back in my hippie days. It's like you weren't listening to King Crimson or Pink Floyd.
Right.
Off the road, Midnight Rider.
Oh, Midnight Rider is the song. That is the Dad and Radar.
Oh, yeah. Radar Love. Oh, I saw those cats during. They opened for Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a Dutch band. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's wild. That was a song I used to listen to when I go to visit my girlfriend. It was like an hour and a half drive. I listen to Radar Love, Oh, yeah. She's driving on that wheel.
It's one of those songs that makes you think you are the guy.
Yeah, you're the star of the song. Yeah, it's like that, like Shooting Star by Bad Company. Everybody wants to be that guy. Everybody likes me, man. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be a superstar and I'm gonna die young and everyone's gonna miss me.
It was like in the genre where the homeless hippie cat comes up to his door. He's kind of starving and stuff, and he says he's obviously been living in the bushes, and he thinks that one of Lynn's sons, I think he probably had a little schizophrenia or something, and he was and Lynn and or talking to him, it's in the documentary, and singing that, it's like I felt that, you're singing about me, and it's like, and Lennon just said, no, he goes, I only write songs about me. He said, I don't know about your life. He goes, all I write about is my experiences, not about you. But he said, are you hungry? And the guy goes, yeah, thanks, man. Stuff like that at his house. But sometimes, some art form can influence people so much that they identify much that it becomes that to them. Especially people who have some that they can really speak to them. Yeah. Sometimes in a big way. Once again, John Lennon, right, read Catcher in the Rye. Catcher in the Rye. thought he was that cat in there.
Yeah. Well, people are very malleable, and some people, mentally ill people, extremely. And they one song, one book, one movie can. I mean, how many people went nuts after they watched? How many people thought they were Travis? You know, that was fucking early days. God damn that guy.
It's funny how many comedies he does now playing it around.
Yeah. Angry from your grandma, Meet the Fockers. Yeah.
Kind of stuff. Yeah. So funny. Tours, Bruce Dern.
Oh wow.
Guys like that, and the fact that not only did I get to meet them, but work with them several times a piece, and once you know everybody, you start to. Sometimes you hate to hear yourself talk, because I'll be talking to some younger actor, like 25 or 30, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I really love that movie." With Overfall, I go, "Yeah, well, he's my mentor." It's like, yeah, look at him. I watched something. I always thought Laura McCall was somebody. I knew Laura McCall. It's like, then you start to sound like an asshole. But
It's a different reality.
It is a different reality. And you get used to it to the point where you just look at all of these legends who you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew Gregory Peck, Graham Taylor, all of them, and Roddy McDowell, and I got so used to it that I would forget most of the time, and then every now and then you go, I'm talking to Foreign Bacall. Right. Bogart's wife.
Yeah.
I mean, are you shitting me? And so I still pinch myself sometimes. I mean, I've been really glad to have met a lot of great heroes of mine, and become friends with. Right now, I'm working with Sam Elliott. Sam and I have known each other since probably the late 80s, somewhere in there. Worked together twice before, but a couple of things at a time, Tombstone and Navy. But kept up with each other over the years, and he was another guy who was more of a mentor from a distance. I just always say him now. I work with him every day.
That's wild.
And it's amazing. It's so wild that he's such a sweet man, such a great actor. But when he and I do scenes together, it's literally like you and I talking right now.
Right.
It's that natural just to. We essentially all, when they cut. Yeah. Well, that's been doing so long. He's so good. It's just he's so relaxed that even though it's Sam Elliott, you believe because there's a naturalness to it. Like you were talking about with yourself. There's a naturalness, and that translates when people are watching a television show with that. Show's not even really television show. Like I don't think Landman's a television show. It's a long yeah. It's like which the beautiful thing about streaming. That's really when you got shows like Ozark, and Stranger Things, and it really started with The Sopranos. It's essentially like a really long. It's on television, but what does that mean? Most people watch movies on television. It's just a distribution device for whatever art you're doing. And on those kind of shows, it's so you to buy it. You got this character. It's not just one film. I'm not buying that. It's something about you. It sounds like an actor. Versus 9, 10 episodes in, second season, believe that guy.
Yeah, and the naturalness is the thing. You know, like there's a great scene in Landman where you're explaining, which I love, explaining women what green energy and how much fucking horseshit this all is for you to feel good about yourself. I fucking love scene, but I know you're Billy Bob Thornton, but in that scene, you're that fucking works for an oil company. It's like, shut the fuck up. What are you're even talking about? It's because of that naturalness that works.
Yeah, huge. It was all over the internet, that scene. And I mean, when I see some, mainly Texas, but wherever I am, they always bring scene up and fake me, and thanks for. And, I do get questions, obviously because of the nature of the show. People try to politicize everything. The fact of the matter is that Taylor, with that show, is not taking a side. Here's a look behind the curtain at how it works.
Yeah.
And it's about how are the people who work in the industry, whether you're on the suit side or you're out there in the fields, and if you're a family of, like I have a family in the show, it's just, this is how it works. And this is how it affects the people who, and here are all the other great people circling your world, and my case, the family, It's, when I did that scene, when I read it, and Taylor's very good about being gigantic monologues for me. When something makes sense to you, it's easy to do a monologue. If you don't know what it means, it's harder to learn the dialogue. If you person is written, if you agree with it or disagree with it, but if you understand what they're saying, it's excellent. I'm receiving people more lines on a back and forth conversation than I do when I'm just sitting there telling somebody something. Right. Jerry telling his life story. Right. I mean, it wasn't something there for him, but the story was more of Jerry. But, if it hadn't been written, Taylor said, you gotta write, you gotta say that it would have done it, been able to do it. But the fact that Taylor said, just tell that story you told me. Yeah. It's his story. Yeah. It'd be like if I ask you, tell me your life story. Right. You can do that. Right. And if you get to be themselves, they're better than, I've always found that. People in movies that have never been in one before. I just don't tell them we're rolling. I really don't. In Sling Blade, the guy, Rick Dial, who played the fix-it shop, the kind of big guy, I went to school since the third grade. Now, this guy could be an actor, And when we did the first scene with his shop, when Jimmy Hampton brought me over there and said, this is co-working. All that stuff, I just went to Rick and I said, dude, that Brent Risk Scooter, the guy can never fix anything. And I said, camera crew, they don't have their shit together. I said, they're going to have to get some marks and do a bunch of stuff, so not on us. So we're going to run the scene, but we're not really filming it. Just say the dialogue. If you fuck something up, don't worry about it. He was letter perfect. Once we started to say action and shit, it got a little different. Most stuff. Like was the first take. And because he's relaxed. Yeah, the pressure of the moment. Action. I hate it. I don't even, usually when I'm direct, I don't direct much anymore. But when I do, I just kind of say what you guys go wherever you're ready, And you have ADs, PAs out there on their radios and shit, and they're all, I mean, Clint Eastwood has been known to say, jokingly, but instead of cut, he was sometimes an actor. I know Clint. He said when Clint was satisfied with the scene, he goes, "Okay, that's enough of that shit." Instead of,
but what was the process of deciding to do Sling Blade? How did you're obviously trying a vehicle for yourself, and they're not offering it to you. So what was the process? How did you decide to do that guy? What was it?
I've told it a couple of times. It's the absolute truth. I was doing one scene. I think there were two scenes, but it was one of them was cut out of the thing. I think it was an HBO movie. It was Start Val Kilmer. And I was playing a railroad conductor in the 1920s. It was based on an old movie with Paul Muni called Old Movie Magazine. And they remade it and called it The Man Who Broke 1,000 Chains. Railroad actor who had to like a wool thing off of his, the whole 20s hair sides pretty much shaved off, that kind of stuff. And we're shooting in Riverside. And an old director named Daniel Mann, who directed Tea House, The August Man with Brando, and he'd come out of retirement to do this. He was an old, matter of fact, he was so old school, reading for him. There was a casting director named Kathy Henderson, who was always good to me. So she'd always get me to see the director. And he was sitting at the desk, a little gray goatee, glasses. And I just talked to him, it was just me and him. And he literally said, "Kid, I got a pot for you." And it was like, what am I, Louis Mayer? Who the fuck was I just talking to, And so and this was in the 80s. And I'll turn that on. And just sweating my ass off. And I go in. This was that line at lunch. I went in and I put the air conditioner on. Took that. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, "But you're not going to make it doing any of this shit. Music, movies, nothing. You're just, why are you out here doing, $300 or $400 for a day? And where's a big star? And you're just some idiot with a couple of lines, And I literally made that myself. Made the face. And I started talking in that voice because that I literally started going at myself in the mirror. I did that monologue to the girl that's in the movie. It's like a 9-minute monologue. I did that monologue in the mirror to myself right there. I never wrote it down. I can remember it to this day. Because I have all these weird afflictions, I have compulsive disorder really bad, dyslexic, and kind of like, and I always had the ability to remember stuff. I'm dumb as a bag of hair in every other aspect of life, but I have a photographic memory, and even if it's not something read on a page, it's here. And remember that monologue, and then I realized that I was talking about certain things that were actually in my life that I of him living out back in this shed, just stuff like he was a creature and stuff like that. That was based on a guy in Alpine, Arkansas that lived there. The story was that his mother was scared by a snake when she was pregnant, over the lower shit. And or the father was drunk when he was conceived. But actually he had polio. Frankenstein. Frankenstein and the kid and the nitty better, Yeah, and it's like, well, by the parents in the Bible it says, if you see some, like sex is bad or whatever, he sees his mother with his cat, Jesse Dixon, and he kills her. She told him to do that. It was part of a one-man show in the theater back in the late 80s. And from that, and then wrote a short film, and we did that. And that's why I got Best Adapted Screenplay Oscar. It was my original screenplay, but it was adapted from my own. And so that's how that came
So when you went to do a one-man show, you ever think that you want to know, or is it just like, I want to put this whatever this idea I have in my head and make something out of it?
At that time, going to the theater, I didn't think much beyond that. A couple of years I started thinking about it, and I thought that's the story, and I knew the story before I wrote it in 9 days. And my oldest son, most of the time while I was writing on paper, because I don't know how to type, and so I just wrote it on, paper, a tablet like that, and eventually, we made a little short, and then these guys wanted to make me into a feature, but they had this whole other idea about what happened when I was a kid, show me murder, I could do something myself, and I directed a documentary on widespread panic command out of Athens, and Colonel Bruce Hampton. But that's the only directing experience I had. I didn't know shit about it. But I got the story. I got Barry Markowitz, my DP, got some guys who I was working with. You want to play a gay guy from St. Louis who moves to a little town in Millsburg? My brother became iconic. How weird is that? Yeah, I mean, nice nights. That really was the moment.
By thanking all of our sponsors, of course, ahead. Thank you, Rabbi Rothschild.
So people were authority deals to write screenplays for various studios and stuff. And I was getting acting work here and there. I was in this screenplay. Literally, I woke up one morning, I was not only a millionaire, but
sponsors for today, Matt and Mark. In memory of the next Sylvia Marks,
I appreciate it.
Moshe,
Right when you're going through those times, it's such a blur that, I mean, to this day, I think, I can't hear. I don't think you can get that movie made now. I think a lot of movies that I've done, I don't think there's an audience that would either tolerate it or be interested in it. Other than the high profile relationship
Sure.
I'm associated with
Not the most. So,
Because I don't believe that done it when you did it.
no, that's true.
You know what I mean?
But I think because maybe Sling Blade, first of all, it's not a comedy. There's funny stuff,
Anyway,
but a lot of times they say, man, that Carl, he's funny and shit. It's like, well, if you think about what it's really about, it's not that funny. But I just think because of the climate, it's making fun of a mentally challenged guy, bad Santa. It's like harass anymore or whatever. And I think
If you jazz, but the reality is, if it's entertaining, if it resonates, people that want to see it. It's just nobody wants to finally good comedy movie. It's hard to make. This pushback. All these people are fakes. You don't like it, don't go see it.
That's
You don't like rap music. People talking about that. Don't listen to it.
Go ahead.
You don't like this. Don't go see it.
reviews on things they like. I mean, because what good?
What are you trying?
So trying to protect the public from this atrocity. And I don't understand why they, I can't believe saw this movie in just 2 hours of my life. I'll never get back. It's like, and when people storm the theater, I stormed out of the theater because of a fucking movie. I mean, seriously, go in there, and if you don't dig it, you don't dig it. Just tell the public, hey, nobody. But I saw this movie recently, and I want to go see it, as opposed to this old piece of shit, blah blah blah. It's like to have that type of arrogance, to think that you are informing them that they should stay away from something like you know shit. I don't get that part of it.
Well, because you're gross. I mean, do you remember when Siskel and Ebert had such goddamn power, and now we know they both hated each other. You ever see the videos of these guys just bitching at each other, talking about don't fuck this up like you fucked up the last one? Oh, you just fucked that up. Like, Jesus. Like, you have the worst personalities, and you're telling
Absolutely. And that's who I pay attention to.
Yeah.
I want the audience, because critics, like I said earlier, there's so many critics now.
yeah.
That, critics to begin with are generally not, no human is qualified to judge any piece of art. I mean, Star Wars, it's like, if you don't like you or you see some really silly shit that's kind of not made well or whatever, that's fine. But how can you have a profession where individual can tell everybody in the world is a bizarre. And like you said earlier, like with awards, it's not like sports. How can you win an award for that? I mean, if you run 100 dash in the Olympics, you're the first son of a bitch that breaks the town. How the hell? I won.
Versus that movie versus this. Oh, yeah. You're in a year where there's some sort of socially conscious film that has to win. Like, if it doesn't win, then who are these monks voting? And vote for the socially conscious film? Like, how dare you?
Yeah, the socially conscious film, and also the music tells you exactly what you're supposed to feel every moment.
That's a weird thing. Around it, or Darth Vader comes out. It's all like
It's like here comes a shark. It's like shark is about to eat Robert Shaw. We're scared of.
You know, it makes it like a little more palatable. Is that they don't want to be critics. I don't think anybody wants to. They just don't have anything to contribute. Like, if they did, probably stop being critics and be novelists or be screenwriters or whatever it is. So generally speaking, the people towards that don't professional haters. So most of that's why they love to write bad reviews, and they write fish is not gonna destroy. Maybe for trade. That's all. You know, they just find the most biting way to shut you down, but it's the individual, like the human that's doing that for a living. It's not necessarily anybody you want to aspire to be.
And that's why, like you said, it's the audience.
Yes.
That's who you're doing.
Yeah.
You're not doing this for organizations or award shows or critics or whoever it is. You're doing this for the audience. Those are the people that go and take price or sign up for Plus or whatever. You know, to watch these things and you want to please. I mean, I don't particularly give a shit. You know, actor guys I've run across in my lifetime, like my shit or not. I mean, it's like, you know, I'm not really doing it for them unless you love good work, you know. Then, those cats are, you know, wild, but don't, I'm in a good place right now. And so I think my daughter Bella's going to Cal Poly. He's 21 years old. My son's both well. I love my wife. I'm doing a show. It's like I don't. I honestly don't give a fuck. And you know, that sometimes is a reverse psych kind of idea, you know. It's like, oh, I'm never going to win this. I tell my wife every time I'm going to win an award, lose one. Win or lose. Because I know. I've gotten used to it. I can follow the trend, and I go, and she'll go, oh, you're going to get the golden globe or the Academy Award, whatever it is. No. That guy right there. She goes, how do you know? I said, trust me. Watch and say, I was nominated for a golden globe for Aladdin. We went over there, and I knew instantly it wasn't going to happen. Because if you were in a stadium in a concert hall,
human nature is that
and your seat was, here's the stage, your seat's right here, 3 fucking minutes. Our table, I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. We're sitting back here by like the staff. People bringing up the fucking food, you know. And I said, it's not gonna happen. And she said, who's gonna? And I've been telling her this, and she believed it. She goes, you still believe that? I said, the guy from Shogun. I said, I promise. The guy went. As it was happening. And I couldn't pronounce his name. The Japanese guy from Shogun. Literally said it. You know, they have panel and they went there and announced it. Because they want to see the other guys. You know what I want to see one day? I want to see somebody say the three of us are nominated for something, and we're in it shows me and it shows you're trying to nonchalant like you don't give a fuck. One day, I want to see somebody just go.
Let's go back there. Let's keep going.
You know what I mean?
I've only been to the Emmys, and it was when Phil Harper and he was nominated, so we all had a cap. And I'll never forget this because he didn't win. And he looks over at me and he goes, "What the fuck does he have to do to win?" It was so funny in the moment. The guy just got fucking beloved guy murdered. This big giant horrible thing, his wife kills her, and we're all sitting there, and he just looks at us, what the fuck does that have to do with it? I'm out forever, leave me alone, keep me out of this fucking chaos. And the first thing you ever do is get sucked into it, and then play to that. Crazy with you because you're one of the most legitimate ever. Like a lot of people are having successes, but it was kind of like a slow drip and something kicked, and oh wow, now it's a big. It's like, man, Sling Blade came out, and all of a sudden you were all over the fucking news, and that's the wildest ride that anybody can be on. Because also this is the ride before. Right, so there were not nearly as many famous people. The thing, if you think about a movie star that was so different than a famous person today, right? Because there's it's like an unprecedented attention. So to be when Sling Blade came out, it was a crazy spot in life because there's only like 20 motherfuckers out there. There's like 20 famous actors that anybody that you can get people to name, and you're one of the holy shit.
Back then, if you were number 18 on the top, you're pretty far down the fucking road,
Right? Yeah, right? That'd be crazy, right? Think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Because being famous then was a very different thing than being famous now.
It was very much. I mean, now people are famous because they're socialized. They're parties.
Well, they're the Kardashians. They're famous for being famous. No one can play. Yeah, but it's like bizarre world. There's no take to navigate that. Help you. No one can tell you like what to do, what not to do. First of all, it's a new thing. Like literally. You know, by the time Sling Blade, when you're Sling Blade,
Played at 95.
films are really like real films where people know who the actor is. You know, one's keeping the silent. You got Charlie Chaplin. It's real fucking. It's real in the zeitgeist of the world. And you're one of them. And no one is this.
It's all have skin. I mean, what's your sense with
that you're found to be lying,
people that I grew
we're
up
gonna
watching,
execute you, or we're gonna visit us on you.
standing
So
next to Andy Griffith
can't
or whoever,
We essentially don't accept the testimony.
and
Therefore, if you're telling me over here that I
you
love
start
the
to realize
witnesses can come testify about Raphael, but they themselves
group of actors
they can always play. We didn't
are
go
looked
execute
at
her.
by
Just
20-year-olds or
You know,
like
that
I
they
look
can't
at
be
these
executed.
guys because
They're
they
not
say
subject to
this
us somehow. If they're not subject to us somehow, then we can't accept their
all this
testimony.
kind of stuff.
Therefore, they're over here. Which the Gemara says, hey, how can
It's
I
an
how can I
odd
become a
feeling. They
dog shade? They're right. First,
you
right.
know,
We're saying, since these witnesses can't be killed, now I kill
because once
they
again,
claim
social
the
media
word
has a lot
coming
to
to
do
the
with
ruffle was coming to make her a suda upon her husband.
because of our lack of
So you might say,
younger generations, lack of history.
Even that, I guess.
You know, their knowledge, how far history goes back
I
to
would like
them.
those she had to
I don't think,
okay, so
you
what's
know, 100 years from
there?
now, generations will look at
The kind
us the way we looked at Humphrey Bogart and Frederick March and all these
so where is there ever? So where is there ever?
Davis, you know,
Of a
whoever
rise
it was.
This is
It goes back to
a
too much access
fire.
I just don't believe
So according
in the history books.
would there be a
30 years from now, they'll look at me or Quincy Augusta or whoever it is.
the Zinsa, because of the Zinsa.
Bogarts and the Tracy's that
The second time. So
because
that would
society
be
changed so much. And
But is that a bad thing? Because they still, like, people love you, and they still love Costner, they love Quaid, they still love all. It's just you know them more than they're human beings now.
yeah, I don't think that's a bad.
It's a different thing. It's a different.
What's your
The movie star back then, like Clint Eastwood and this drunk guy outside, like it wasn't like he was, you know, doing those sitting down.
One thing the difference is what are any of those guys do?
I also abolish
If I name
community
Robert
that's
Wall or
Second
David Evan, how many people I talk
man,
to?
committed adultery.
That's crazy.
If
Since
I
somebody
knew a
was
customer and I
is
said,
actually
how many
adultery
more guys
with a
made the right
Now,
answer?
she did something for that, or she went ahead and actually committed
I said,
adultery with
I
one of
had
her
4 alternative
relatives.
photo shoot.
And
Which
therefore,
one I
I'm
was
going
going
to
to
already
do?
done this individual.
This girl's 35
Okay.
years old.
Nice not now to
This is not that
knock
long ago.
out you just
10,
sweat not
12 years ago.
I feel so now. By the way,
Ringo,
are you the
she
speaker?
goes,
This is
what's
not
that? I
about
said,
this.
the Beatles. I've heard the Beatles. And I'm like,
So I
yeah, it's like hearing of George Washington. But anyway, so, and I said,
I
can you name any of the Beatles?
also hide the yes of the
Kind of.
also
I said, they were a band that started every fucking thing we do nowadays. And I couldn't believe it. And she was like a hip girl, like orange hair, fucking shit, you know, with the sheet green and everything else.
You know what?
But it seems to me that people's history is, it's
Such a thing like
it's
that.
become different. Like our history, when I was, you know, listening
So what do you mean you
to,
kind
you
of
know, whoever,
Cream
or Jimi Hendrix or Traffic or Lee Holiday, Jimmy Rogers singing Morning
after all
with
the
Words,
sides,
you
what's the
know.
interesting case when you was
Now, people, a lot of people think Ozzy Osbourne show. It's like, no, way back in the late 60s.
Where is
And I think
how?
it's part of influences and also, you know, a mystic support
And the second,
politicians. How many people know that Benjamin,
and
frankly, you know, Benjamin
So that's
Franklin always got
what
four guys doing
this is
some
not
other
a fit
place
because
or
they
whatever.
match with each other.
But, you know, over the states,
So what's it
you
say?
know,
Remember, very
and
specific.
it's like, well, wait a minute, we're in New York, what do you do in,
Over here,
you know, Virginia or whatever it was?
testimony.
We had more representatives and senators.
It was like,
They
we're not claiming that they're lying. I remember at the time he sold it. It's just how
how good it is.
Part of the economic kilo of money, how does it says,
Everybody gets two. And then you get more representatives.
Ruben was wearing a white shirt, and the other one, the same kid, was wearing a shirt. So that's what, in that case, their testimony is fine.
Well, history is important, but I think one of the problems with it today is like there's so that everybody has TikTok brain in particular. Like it's very difficult for them to get a sense of history when they're being inundated very short attention span content all day long. They're just getting fed that nonsense. It's hard for them to read something or sit and have the attention to get even really get fascinated by a bunch of good documentary on somebody or read a book on somebody. It's they're just checking their phone all the time. They're always checking their goddamn phone. They're addicted to these fucking things, and they can't have it. Like you and I grew up without it, so you can just see how it's affecting the way people view the world, and it's not good. It's not good. It's certainly not good for creating future versions of those stars. John Lawrence. It's like say if you don't have any understanding of what's going on, whatever going on.
I put these things down. I've got the fucking thing with me all the time.
Now,
the desert in California, like I am. I'm like trying to
started. So which one is it? Is clothing important? Or is clothing important? So what's that one?
Having to see if you had the fucking gas station and go, yeah, I'm trying to get to 16th Street. You know where that is? It's supposed to be by like the Sawmill.
One says that the murderer was wearing white shoes. And one said the murderer was wearing black shoes.
What you want to do?
You know, take pride in being able to give you directions.
So the nice thing again,
Yeah, so it's a big thing.
black shoes.
Could give you directions. That's a cool guy.
That's
I'm going to tell you how to get there. 405, right? You get on exit 16, right?
Well, inside that, I can do a cab drive there.
So now we can go ship.
If you're someplace else, it's like, yes, what?
If that's the case,
That shit crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. If you took away the ability of someone's name on your phone to call, you gotta remember their number.
that Zakai was examined. And he asked them big
Well, you have a great memory from this day.
what did that Zakai say? Zakai, tell me a little bit about.
In other words, I can take my phone
Right? What
and I can
things
the
did
people that I call
they
on
think
regular
tell me
basis.
about says I'm trying to.
It is true.
So what is this?
She'll say, like, my contacts or whatever, you know, it'd be somebody we know really well.
Check those boxes.
I told
When
my
testifying
daughter, I
about
said,
one of you,
your
you
college,
don't push the message right around come go. I got to let me shout
all the
this.
time.
So there was
That's when you get arrested.
hatched.
You're gonna call it.
That
You know, like 3 people's numbers. So it's like being an overweight person that's addicted to food because you have to eat to stay up. So you're gonna have to do some of the things you're addicted to It's not like gambling. You're a gambling addict. Stay out of a gambling addict to have. And that's a problem that every young person has with their phone. And, you know, all of us are using it every day. Because you have to get places, you have to check your email. So it's always there. You have to develop some sort of a relationship that's not great.
Shiny better that guy. He was in the boat. He goes, right? He is sent to the people actually general sites.
Yeah.
Because
Even it's that big
she's always saying heroes are questions are
something that canceled all the time and all this stuff.
he goes
It's like
are general
I don't give a shit.
generally do we care necessarily what
I'm not on social media.
what matter again is the fake.
You know,
Do we
the band doesn't
or white or black? Not necessarily.
They put pictures of me taking the garbage out.
The egos
That's
and
what people want to see. They don't want to see your picture on stage. They want to see that you're just this regular dude with your ass cracked taking the garbage down and building
Eating chicken fried steak. Shit. Yeah. Well, it was you're fucking normal. That's the problem where people are putting up cool. Like everybody's trying to look cool online. You know, it's some weird thing to try to do.
That's one thing. Or you can skip.
Yeah.
It's a problem too with a lot of young ladies because they see that and they think that that's it, and then what's wrong with me? I look normal. She looks normal too. She's got something turning her into this bizarre form of human that doesn't exist in the wild. It's Jonathan Hayden about that, where you see as the in the beginning of social media, you see automatic, almost instantly, giants that experience self-harm, cutting, ideation, actual social media does, because you're comparing yourself to someone distorted, like rose-colored glasses, propaganda, because this person wants you to know how cool they are. Look at me, I'm with a girl in a bikini, and I'm sitting on a Ferrari, and a stack of hundreds. Fuck! How do I know that guy? I'm just a loser. I should jump.
There's a face. You know, when you're feeding a baby, I guess it's from our, it's in our DNA or something. When you feed a baby, you go,
right? Like this is what they know. This
say that probably came from your showing the baby, but it's somebody yawns, you yawn.
people they want
And you feed the baby.
accent. Think about it, by the way. There are three people
There's a
follow
thing
the same paradigm.
with these
Right? Same people.
selfies
Rabbi Rothschild,
that they can't not
all
go.
this 40.
Yeah.
45. Now again, that's
Yeah.
an impartial.
It's very bizarre.
40,
I did a bit about that in my act,
Is it
about
exact?
imagine seeing
Maybe
a photo
it's
from like the early 19 girls like this. What is this? Time traveler. This is
I know,
so
right?
strange. Like
Exactly.
my daughters are on Snap. They snap all their friends. So this is how they communicate. They rarely text. They just make Snapchat. And they just have like in front of them, and then they take a picture like, oh my god, I'm so bored. You know, whatever. Communicating with each other through cell phones.
It is.
It's
Very
self-actual.
weird.
Everything is in snippets. And the fact that, you know, if you have a TV service that has, you know, 8 teams,
I don't know what his pivotal event was.
and I find my skins. I sit at home, I got it on the, you know, Cincinnati.
Down there. Can you imagine what the world would be like without the Bush? Life is
Over 18, you know, flip it over the Chargers game. You know,
go
go back and forth. And I grew up with 3 fucking channels, you know. And so you had to watch everything all the way through. And I'm convinced that that's the reason that trivia is or I changed to, rawhide.
Podcasts. The podcasts are one of the only times where I have anything but the conversation. I think it's one of the reasons why I launch. And the same thing is when I do commentary for the UFC. I'm talking about the fight, so I can't be answering texts. I'm not checking emails. I'm not looking at TikTok. I'm just locked in on what is happening for 6 hours. And so those, if you could find escape from all the information that's in the rest of the world coming at you, all the fucking bad news and all the guns and tits and everything that's coming at you all over the world. It's very beneficial. It's all right.
And I think your show has, you sit for a few hours.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to do that. I came late to I remember doing
The Sanhedrin was getting to one of those
I did Norman
by the
podcast.
Rabbi Rothschild, and while they were there, they could not.
Those were the first ones I did.
Because of fake Knesset,
I didn't know it at the time.
they weren't able to adjudicate
And
capital
since
things
they
anywhere.
it's
That guy.
literally
So here we have
place you are.
the Sanhedrin was Sanhedrin
doesn't check their fucking phone.
this.
Just ask somebody back or look at it.
Very certain again,
It's
what
just
it
like,
says.
hang on a second.
And
It's like,
ultimately, again,
how
but
important
Bill
is this
Clinton
to you?
said that guy,
More important to
was the
Lindsay
one
know
who had
that you'd rather have spaghetti.
Well, it's also you're
Which also
completely
makes it just
breaking
chronological.
whatever
Yeah,
bond
guys,
out of the conversation.
that's-
It's not.
when
It's
a
two
capital
people.
case is being
Information
so
talking
that's
to
the
each other.
case.
Each other in the you gotta feel with this person. It's a dance. Stop in the middle of the dance.
It can't,
We have to figure out how to get it. It's new. You know, just like I was saying that when you were that's an experience, just period in human civilization. Becoming a movie star is very recent. It's hard, and this is this thing of everything being on this thing of everybody having access to all this information coming at you, all this media, all these opinions. Watching car accidents and animal attacks and things became famous. The whole world's gonna go thing with phones and with social media. can't cut yourself
what happened.
off.
So they were adjudicating
We
a
don't know
case.
what we're doing.
And the bill
This is
could have
fucking
been
doing shit. Just like fame, you get written by it.
The bill could have was a student.
It's
What about
a person that becomes friends with Ricky Schroeder? No, Ricky for like 25.
And remember, in general,
There is
whenever
nobody
things are
becomes
they always
famous at
so
like
they could,
6.
if they could go in
Right. It's not possible.
innocent by
Like,
asking
the way I
questions about
know
steps
making
of the
cement, but you don't
put
put enough water in. Like, so it's always going to be fair. There's
they
a
like
part
it so
that's
much
never.
established it in
You want a normal life.
established it as
Whatever normal was. You are famous and then became famous. But if you're famous, fucking big, your whole life, you're like growing up. That's whether it's Miley Cyrus or you look at a poor Britney losing her fucking marbles.
One of the guys there also,
What's the big distinction is as follows.
themselves.
Kilos.
I'm really
This is
happy
go ahead and
that my signature
if it gets something wrong, it's disqualified. By the Ticos,
actually
even if you get it wrong,
really
they're fine.
relish that.
So the Gemara says,
That
my
I did not become famous. My state of mind in those days,
And when it comes to the Ticos,
just
like
when
one of the
everything I
witnesses
wanted,
says, one of the witnesses
you
says,
know,
you know what?
but
So say,
Right,
what's the
there's
halacha? One of
no
the
doubt
witnesses
about
says,
it. I would have never
so once that happens, what is it? One says, I don't know, or if two say, I'm not. A proper testimony.
that
We
we
was
want
Shnayim Omer
Yes.
Gadanu. That
whole
and
day
one says, I don't
13.
know.
Yeah.
Ultimately, again, the Eidos
I mean, the stuff that looking at it, it's like, I mean, God did it.
Supposed to give
We worked as a carpenter's
Let's look at
helper.
the people about 3 witnesses.
So
Right, and what happens?
I
One of them
hadn't
says,
done
I don't know. One of them says, I don't know.
No.
So what's the
Was the
halacha?
entertainment
So nevertheless, the
business.
ecosystem is, you ask the Hashira too, and answer
You know,
correctly. One
I
says, I
don't think I
don't
would have
know.
made it through
What's the
that.
halacha?
You know, like looking at the real world from a place where you've never experienced
testimonial unit.
like you're talking about Ricky and all that stuff. It's like
So what
if
is
your
the
only
set that
experience has
by
been
definition is a group?
juice
In order
box
for the
with
group to be an
you
effective, is
know,
what has to happen.
whatever
They
it
have to
is.
be able to go ahead and
You can
and
I'm
answer
telling you,
all of
these
the
days,
factors
my
together.
wife thinks
So if one
I'm the most helpless in the world, and in some
local
ways I am.
again,
I mean,
disqualified.
I get into an
On the
airport now.
level of height,
I used to watch before I was famous. I knew where to go. Put my shit, you know. Go in there, and I look like it's like Logan Vaughn. I look like, where the fuck are we there? And, you know, my assistant or publicist or something, I'm like, can I take it back on there? Or is this one, where's the thing we go through? Do I you know, I know fucking well. in the shower. You grab the fucking handicap rail. You go really slow. I don't have to, but I do because something else tells me. Here's my age now. If I fall, I'm weeks because I'll break my hip and then I'll done. And I'm like, I don't think but calm down the stairs.
What do you have questions then?
I'm gonna take it once. It's not real.
Well, what?
And it's not real that I get around a fucking airplane. Where I think now, I'm just this helpless fucking old man. Just a caretaker fucking, get me to the gig. And then I go on stage and I'm like, walking up the steps of the, and I get up there and fucking go to the edge of the stage and slam hands and shit. So, none of that shit's real.